Oh dear.
Slushy looked down at her phone and sighed. 8 usernames listed on her notes app. From people she met at various panels. 8 usernames too many. Coming into the convention center, she promised herself that she wouldn't make too many friends. The terrors of having to deal with mutual drama, let alone from people she got to know for less than a few months, sounded like pure agony. The Blue Fox was always a very friendly person, willing to show concern to just about anyone in need, or something as simple as a high five when they had flair for a fandom she recognized. And that was her biggest problem. Her over-ecstatic nature could gnash on her tail until it rips one of these days. She's already worried enough about her dear friend's habit of quick love. Even if this old P guy was nice to her. What if she gets taken advantage of again, or it gets unhealthy? If only Milkshake were here and not sick in bed with the flu. Coughing non-stop over the phone was enough to tell Slushy that it's best to go alone. But, good God, did it not feel the same? Nevertheless, she named her file and closed the application, deciding against adding to her list for the time being. She wasn't positive that she'd speak to them very much anyway.
Hi. Are you saving the sea?
Slushy yelped from the sudden greeting, and tilted her head up to see someone twice her size towering her frame. A leopard, endowed with a black and beige coat. No unique cosplay was present, only a single VIP pass hung around her neck, and a satchel.
What? Oh! No. You can sit here if you want.
The woman's eyes excitedly shot open.
Ah, goody. Sorry to bother you. All the tables are taken, and these nachos were hotter than I expected. Are you new here? Not at all, actually. I show up here every year. It's an annual thing for me, really.
The last thing Slushy wanted was another person trying to befriend her. But then again, she can always decline. The woman seemed nice enough, at least.
What about you? I'm basically just a nomad here. I wander and chat and get out. My name's Porton. Whoa, that was quick. Call me Slushy.
The fox gently smiled, a little surprised at the direct hit. It was enough to make her sweat a little from her brow. Slushy pondered. Maybe she was worrying too soon? At least she gets a chat buddy before she waltzes back to the venue for more stuff. And she can always DM the people she met earlier, just to see if they're up to anything new. What screw-up could she cause aside from a rare, awkward moment of silence? The two jabbered about their favorite things to do, what animes that they watched and what musicians they're a fan of. It honestly felt like another Milkshake was sitting right in front of her. Not ill. But of course, all good interactions come to their close, as the fox waved goodbye and went on to skim through the convention venue. But Porton just sat back. Body as stiff as a piece of driftwood. How odd it was that she had nothing to say, no actions to give, not even a blink, until Slushy had left her sight. The coated leopard's nails tapped, then dragged across the wooden round table, with a weird animosity bolting through her senses. An obsessive animosity that she had never felt before. One that required her to get through an easy, soft layer before the eventual plundering. Porton's constricted eyes darted around the packed room for a place of her color, and her heart drummed when she realized she didn't even have to strip down to make this work. Slushy stepped out of her hotel room with a brand new bow and some lovely promotional pins garbing her magical girl-esque dress. She twirled in excitement, hopping and even bumping her head on the ceiling. Just thinking about how fun the rave might be made her giddy. The hollers, the flashes, it all sounded glorious. Thankfully, the day was still young, and she had plenty of time to get to her spot. Skipping like she had just found the best tulip field in the world, her bright eyes scanned the enormous hall. Would you look at that? A photo shoot full of anime swordsmen on her left. A theater room showcasing a movie marathon on her right. A pair of eyes popping out of the wall. Wait. She paused her skip and squinted at the phenomenon, glaring at her from within the rocky material. Rubbing her own, they seemed to disappear. The fox couldn't have known why she'd be experiencing this. Was it because she overslept? Underslept? She didn't feel either of their respective effects, so perhaps it would be best to continue on with her day, right? Though she didn't spot them. The eyes changed positions as she walked, from one wall to the other, left to right, either up to the length of an average person or near the floors. This was no hallucination like she kept putting the notion in her head to be. After 11 straight minutes of walking, Slushy had made it to the end of the convention hall, adorned with a sprouting fountain, a line to a rave party, and yet another photo shoot. She sighed at the pretty sight, almost forgetting about the abnormality from earlier. She turned around and took a gander at how far away she was from the beginning of her walk. The walls moved on her right. She jumped, shaking her head to ensure that what she saw was just her mind playing her, until the walls shifted once again. The shapes of whatever had been embedded to the barriers shuffled in a clustered mess. It gave her the idea of someone being trapped inside, with enough strength and air to not fall in their wake. How in the world was no one in line spotting this? With a sudden shriek, Slushy backed away, accidentally bumping into a heavy-set beaver managing the lined crowd. A con worker with the dreaded, stereotypical neckbeard fit one would poke fun at online. Surprisingly enough, though, conventions are known for having some pretty eccentric, otherwise poorly mannered people here and there. He was quite serene. "Hey, buddy, you feeling alright?" he asked with genuine concern. "Good thing I caught you. You could have busted your head open there." Some of the line goers were annoyed by this, assuming that she was just trying to cut.
I'm sorry, it's just...
Nothing. The shapes had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind the flat, bumpy material it initially had in its place. Perhaps Slushy didn't rest as easy as she thought she did, but she didn't want to show that. She thought, is she going to squander a week off of work that she granted to herself, or is she going to have fun? If not for her, for her sick friend. Turning to the man and gently shaking his hand, she sputters her words in a vain attempt to apologize.
Sorry, it's nothing. Thank you for... I'll get in the back.
The wait was lengthy, and her nervousness was off the charts from her encounter. But after a hot minute of sitting at the end of the queue, Slushy managed to get one lucky spot in the concert room. Almost instantly, she perked up, like the numerous times Milkshake came over for a visit. Despite this, the young adult Reynard couldn't help but tell herself, if only she were here. She took another couple of seconds to reflect upon that thought. How many times has she told herself that? Should she stop? What a blast the rave party was getting to be. Slushy danced like there was no tomorrow, the lights from the ceiling flashing directly into her face, but she didn't mind it one bit. These were absolutely rare for her to make it into, and she wasn't going to waste an opportunity like this anytime sooner. It wasn't just the music that brought a smile to her face, though. It was the comfort, knowing that she could at least come home and talk about this experience with her friends. The solace of getting the chance to see her favorite artist in the venue later, with enough patience. Everything was going just as she wanted it to. Yes. Everything. Telling herself that was the way to go, before her tail felt some unfamiliar touches. The feeling made her squeak and squeeze it close to her in mild discomfort. Trying to ignore it did nothing to help her psyche, as the touches came back in constant motion whenever she wasn't paying attention to herself. Light strokes at first, then scratches, then tugs, garnished with something stepping on her foot. It could have just been someone in the crowd not being as careful as they were supposed to, but then again, the contact drove her mad enough to consistently dart her sight around the room just to find the culprit. All she wanted to do was tell them to stop, so she can go back to what she was trying to do initially. Then, gentle pats. The type a dog would get for completing a command sent shivers up her spine. Slushy couldn't take it. Spinning around, almost instantly she opened her mouth, about to scold whoever was there behind her, only to pause. A group of fox women, much like her in her realm of fandom knowledge, wanted a photo with her. Seems like that obscure magical girl show she was interested in really took off fast. Slushy posed, forcing a smile from the sudden cold temperatures that blew against her tail, or what was left of it. She gripped onto her tail to position it better for the photo, and the realization of what was coursing over her fingertips made her heart sink. Naked skin. Only a single ounce of hair poking from the tip of her rear. She couldn't breathe at that moment. The lights felt blinding to her, and all she could do was feel her appendage all over in a desperate hope that she was still in bed right now. Shutting her eyes and pinching herself certainly didn't work. The vision of all the things that could have possibly happened out of her view only made her rummage through the crowd and bust open the exit, running for her life. Crouched up in the women's restroom, unable to know who did it and who wanted her this badly, yanking on her ears in distress with no way of calming herself. Slushy's tears were enough to flood the stall and drown her. Just like that, all of the fur she had been maintaining over the past several months was reduced to strands on the cold ground. Still in that damned rave area for anyone to pick up as they please. But she didn't take that into consideration before her head went on autopilot and made her race out. Attempting to stand up led to no avail. From the anxious meltdown she was having and the fear of having to go back out there and expose herself. Slushy's paw balled up and pounded against the side of the stall, accidentally attracting the attention of someone nearby. Someone she remembered meeting earlier today. The stall creaked open.
Hi again.
Porton waved down at her from above, with her satchel unclipped but still semi-closed. unnaturally placid from the embarrassment that Slushy had just endured. But for some reason, stuttering some. Her happy demeanor instantly faded.
You don't look so good. Do you really think I want anyone to speak to me, let alone see me right now? Look, I know you just met me and all, but I can assure you I got good intentions. You can tell me anything and I won't judge you for it. Trust me. Get out. I'm scared. I'm not feeling very trusting today. Slushy.
Porton cooed in a sing-song tone.
Come on.
The defenseless fox now had annoyance thrown into the mix of emotions she didn't want. Forcefully grabbing her tail, she held it in front of her face in a position that looked like she was about to wring it out. Slightly twisting, she raised her voice through gritted teeth.
This, I'm careless! I didn't care enough! And this happened! Is this what you wanted to hear?
Porton shakily sighed, positioning her pouch next to her hip.
Do you know who did it? How should I know? I couldn't barely see in there, and I couldn't defend myself because I didn't know where they were fucking going!
Slushy clutches her phone in a tight, angered grip before chucking it onto the floor and leaving a nasty crack in its corner. She felt shameful. Not once in her life did she swear, and she didn't want to bother speaking like that to anyone, but at this point, she had lost all of her will to care about that. Her life was in danger, and there was nothing she could do. Silence presided. Porton, her own heart bursting out of her chest, gulped, providing a suggestion.
Why don't I take you to my room? You can crash there for the night. I can tell you need a safe space, and this isn't where you should be right now.
Slushy stopped sobbing and slowly lifted her head up, her fears etching closer. She didn't understand why she'd ask this, when Porton can easily just take her back to her hotel room. Then again, wouldn't that also mean she'd find out where she's dwelling for the time being? There didn't seem to be many safe options. Porton continued.
Take deep breaths, honey. You can make it through this. Hey, if it makes you feel better, I bought a fondue machine, some extra blankets. We can spend the night together even.
The leopard was cut off by her fox friend, trying to shove herself out of the way. She bickered, she resisted. She just wanted to be left alone, but for some reason this so-called protector of hers was blocking her way out. Soon after, the bickers turned into yells that were insistently shushed by Porton's clawed finger. So much struggling rang out in the stall, only for Slushy to pause when she saw the Verity right in front of her. The truth that was facing her head-on, as if it weren't a big deal. And in a satchel, nonetheless. An open satchel, with blue clumps of fur inside of it. Slushy shuddered, mouth trembling as the leopard woman stood there, twiddling her claws, trying to form a cohesive excuse for what her prey had just discovered. Only to be shut down by the fox, screaming in her face.
I knew it. I knew it! I fucking knew I couldn't trust you! You!
Her screams were met with a barren smile, forming upon Porton's mug, and carnivorous white drool flowing out of her mouth in a waterfall. Her fingers twitched by their sides, and she dropped the satchel from her stiffened limb. Slowly approaching her, her veiny paws lifted up into her point of view, getting ready for dinner.
Stop making that face at me! What are you doing? Oh God, help! Somebody help!
Her vulnerable, sweating body was pinned against the toilet, one giant hand clutching her mouth, and the other ravenously tearing away at the finely knit fabrics of her costume. The choice of calling for help was forcefully stripped away. All that Slushy could do was whimper, groan, and struggle. This was it. This was really how she was going to die. At the hands of someone she didn't even know very well, nor hurt. She didn't even know what to do in her deathly situation anymore. She had no one else on her mind right now but her own, which begged two choices in her rapidly pacing mind. Should she sit here and take it, knowing that the lust-driven monster has her right where she wants her? Or should she at least try to do something? Slushy's heart sank once the hungered leopard pushed her face against hers, leaving behind one last answer she didn't even consider asking for.
I like the tail trimmed.
The smell of Porton's revolting, reeking breath loomed over her face. The vision of her prey slowly faded, and tightly shut into the side of black, preparing for the worst. Metal pounded against Porton's unprotected skull, and her untrimmed nails let go of Slushy's face, its phalanges falling idle against the floor, leaving behind deep crimson markings within the skin of what it was gripping. Slushy's sight came back into view, and she'd rapidly pat herself down. Aside from her face, there were no open wounds. Nothing exposed. Nothing else to scream over. Looking above her, she saw him, next to a lone fire extinguisher on the floor. A familiar, heavy-set beaver, pushing the unconscious body of her predator off, and whipping out the transceiver from his holster. "This is Mint. I had to defuse a situation in the women's room. I'll explain why I was in there later. Just come over to the very end of East Hall A with restraints before she wakes up. I don't want us to have blood on our hands. Over." Letting go of the button on his radio, the beaver pulls out his water bottle, wedged into his pocket, and offers it. "Need water?" The fox said nothing. "I didn't drink from it, if that's your concern." Mint chuckled, trying to bring at least some light to what just happened. But Slushy just sat there, taking heavy breaths from the near-death experience. She didn't know if this was a new trauma response or if she just had nothing to say. But either way, she couldn't bother saying anything. There would be no use in it. Whilst waiting for the paramedics to arrive, Mint crouched next to Slushy, patting her on the shoulder. "You were very brave having to put up with that, you know." Nothing again, followed by a sigh from the con worker after getting a response from his transceiver. "They're on their way. We're gonna patch you up, do a body search on that piece of shit, and she'll be out of your hair for good. I promise you, you're gonna be just fine." Slushy paused on his water bottle before taking a few careful sips so as to not spill any on her chest. Just then her mouth quivered a little, and she faltered up a word.
Take.
What do you want?
Take me back to my room when this is all over. Please. I'm so tired.
Mint was hesitant at first, but after the life of an innocent was put under such severity, he couldn't help but share a hug. "You can count on me." A day has passed. Slushy stood in front of the clothing venue, twiddling her thumbs in a languished state. What she had gazed upon made her run her fingers over the patched wound on her right cheek. Her tail, now garbed in a soft fabric cover, somehow felt chills. The dealer raised an eyebrow. A spotted coat held up to Slushy's view. "Are you going to buy something?" Her head, barely motivated enough to move, shook in disapproval before she turned around and made her way to the nearest food court. Seating herself and having her favorite, a sub sandwich with mayo and salami. But even then, that wasn't enough to quell the agitation of what may come next. or the abrasions left in her soul, for that matter. Thank Christ above that she was bed-stricken. Geez, what's the matter? You can't sleep? Good. Stay tuned, pal. You're watching LaFonda Pasta.